Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Live on LinkedIn. Today, I have Tim Ryan with me from Hampton Roads. If you are in this area, you have more than likely seen his space. Today, we're doing a special episode where we are in person, so bringing you guys something a little bit different, a little bit more collaborative. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, certainly. So, real quick, as always, I have to introduce my guest. Really need to introduce Tim because he has such a vast presence throughout the Hampton Roads area. And even if you are not local, he has a presence there as well with their show and podcast that they do. So, Tim Ryan is a key figure for innovation in the Hampton Roads ecosystem, and he is the executive director of Innovate Hampton Roads. He even wore his shirt to represent. First thing I saw whenever I saw him today, wonderful shirt. This is an organization focused on accelerating innovation and economic growth across the region, which is something that I am really focused on. So I'm excited to dive into that today with Tim. He's also the founder of ARC4.
ARC4.
Yep.
You got it.
And he played a major role in launching Startwheel. So lots going on. Startwheel is a platform that connects entrepreneurs, investors, and support organizations throughout coastal Virginia. He serves on the board of 757 CoLab, which brings together 757 Angels, 757 Accelerate, 757 Startup Studios to support early stage founders. So a lot of founder work. Tim's work also spans from startups to corporate partners and community leaders, and is all aimed at building a stronger, more innovative ecosystem. So welcome to the show. Hopefully that covered some of the bases of the things that you're involved in.
Again, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So right before the show, I was talking to Tim about AI, and I always have to bring it up whenever we have shows because it is just something that is really consuming to me. And I think a lot of people are either diving off the deep end and research on it, or they're not. And they say, oh, I just use ChatGPT here and there. It just kind of helps me with a few tasks. But the other day, I actually heard somebody say, oh, did you know that ChatGPT can actually write text messages for you? And so that one kind of blew my mind just a little bit to understand that there are some people that have really just been on a completely different playing field of understanding this versus others that are just now getting on the curve.
Yeah, I feel like it's like it is the only thing that limits it is your imagination in terms of how you're going to use AI.
How are you using an AI? You do so many things.
Yeah, I try to have an AI first approach to everything in terms of, so like before I do anything, like stopping and taking a second, like how can I use AI to accomplish this task? And really, I think that has allowed me to be so much more efficient and more effective with my time. Time is like the thing that I protect more than anything else. And so whether if it is just, hey, draft me up just a quick email, that these are the points that I want to hit. Yeah, it's just so you don't have to start with a blank piece of paper, or you're not starting. If you can start on second base or third base, then it's just, I can make it sound like my own, but it's so much helpful from that standpoint. Or another one that I have to do a lot of reporting. And so a lot of these reports can be like 10, 12 pages long. So like feed that into it and then get an executive summary. Whereas like to me, it's just like, gosh, how do I get the most impactful things out of this big, long document to have an effective executive summary kind of thing. But that's just, there's so much you can use. And I really like to dive into this because I want to learn new ways in terms of how I can use that as well. But like our podcast, all of our show notes, that is all done through AI. Whereas before we would have to go and somebody would have to re-listen to the entire show and timestamp everything. And now it's like the description, the timestamps, all that is done within minutes. Once we're done with the show.
And is that something that the system that you purchased is an AI-based system that timestamps everything, or you visit? Okay.
Yeah, they do it. So Podcast AI is the platform we use, and it's just, because I have to look at everything in terms. So again, time is being so important to me. Like I know how I value my time in terms of like an hourly rate. So I'm like, if
Yeah.
I can save X amount of hours by leveraging AI, then that can justify the whatever the cost is for that particular platform.
Absolutely. I think one thing that people don't realize is they assume ChatGPT is the extent of the AI.
Yeah.
And
I
you
don't even use ChatGPT.
really,
Yeah, I canceled my subscription.
no
I
way.
did.
Okay, so what are you using to come up with your show notes then if you're not using
Well, so Podcast AI is
Mhm.
what we use for the show
Oh,
notes.
okay.
But
Yeah.
I've turned to Grok for everything on
Really?
X.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
because the thing that I love so much about Grok is the fact that with X and all of that, they're able to have real time data. So like
Mm,
it is up to the second accurate. So I turn to everything from
interesting.
for Grok.
Interesting. And what's the pricing model on Grok?
I think that there's a free tier if
Okay.
as long as you have an X account.
Yeah.
Um, but then if you have an upgraded like the verified account or whatever, I think it's $180 maybe for the year.
Oh, wow.
And that will get you unlimited queries and
Mhm.
all that kind of
That's really
whatever you're running.
I'm gonna have to check
But like,
that one out later.
yeah, I mean, like, so for me, like driving
Yeah.
home, I was in an event in Norfolk. I was over the weekend. I was driving home, drove past the Hampton Coliseum, and I was like, "Wow, the parking lot is completely filled." So I just jumped on Grok and was like, "What's going on at the Hampton Coliseum right now?" And it was like, "Oh, it's the Hampton Jazz Festival." So it's like real time information that it's
Wow.
available. Whereas,
Even down to the local level too.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
that's
like I like
amazing.
Um, even another one that was crazy yesterday. I saw some headline about there being a black bear sighting in York County, and I was
Hmm.
like, "Is this really for real?" And I went to Grok and I was
Yeah.
like, "Is that for real?" And they're like, "Yeah, it was like black bear spotted in York or the York River State Park or whatever." I'm like, "Huh, really interesting." So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. That's so you use Grok for that. Are you using Grok in a business sense? If you have a question related to your business, you can feed it. Let's say that you're trying to find a way to make more sense of your schedule and to balance your schedule a little bit better. Are you asking it for resources in something like that regard?
yeah. I think another one that was really interesting was like I uploaded my most recent mortgage statement
Mm,
and I said, how much would I have to, based on my
mhm,
most current
mhm.
mortgage statement, how quickly can I pay off my mortgage?
Yeah.
If I wanted to pay X amount of dollars,
Yeah.
uh, an additional principal, and it broke out the whole formula and gave me my plan in terms of, what I need to do to pay off that mortgage. So from that standpoint, it's super interesting. And you can do the same
Yeah.
thing about, coming up with a budget for your
Yeah.
household as well,
Yeah.
or
Business or
diet,
anything.
like, hey,
Mhm.
what are the best, what are the 15 things that I need to be purchase, for my
Yeah.
meal plan for the week or whatever.
I use it every day. I track my macros. So in simple terms, that basically means that I'm making sure that I fit but I'm making sure I fit my protein, my carbs, and my fat, and I don't go above that. Some people just have a lot of carbs and fat in a day and not protein. So I make sure I track all of that. And so towards the end of the day, when I need protein and carbs, that's what it was last night. I go into ChatGPT. Now I'm going to start using Grok a little bit more and say, what's really high in protein and carbs that I can use to get to this level? And they'll spit something out. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
great. I have that.
That's a great idea.
So, and I think this is the basics.
Oh,
This
for
is
sure. For
such
sure.
a basic level entry of things that we can do to save us time,
Yeah.
especially as business owners and entrepreneurs. Time is money. So being able to buy back that time without having to think about these simple tasks is really important.
Yeah. And from a business standpoint, I look at it in the sense of, I know how much another employee is going to cost.
Yeah.
And like, if I can maximize productivity from that standpoint, and now you don't need to hire
Mhm.
additional support and you become that more efficient, then that makes a big difference.
Let's talk about the jobs then, because I recently, the godfather of AI, did a podcast on Diaries of a CEO. I'm sure you're familiar with that
Yeah.
show. And one of the topics of conversation on that show was specifically about the level of jobs that can be replaced by AI. And it's already happening. I think a lot of people assume they are immune to this because they have this impressive tenure with their company, and it's not going to happen because their industry is something that is a blue collar industry. So it would be really difficult to replace them.
Right.
And I think a lot of people are kind of in denial about this. Is that kind of what you've seen, or what have you seen anything in
Yeah.
that?
It's so bizarre how fast everything is changing. And like, so I think that it's like top down and bottom up.
Yes.
It's all happening at the same time. And so like whoever would have thought that like upper level could be replaced so quickly. And then at the same time, from a lower level, like even your entry level people, because of AI, they're coming in at more of a mid-level knowledge standpoint. So yeah, I think that really it's like a tsunami that's about to hit and people don't really understand, and I know I'm not a doom and gloom type of person,
Yeah.
but the reason that part of the reason, truth be told, is in terms of like, how quickly can I pay off my mortgage kind of thing, is like, I want to make sure that as part of a provider for my family, like, all right, we got to make sure that we are positioned well, because you just don't know what's going to happen. So like,
Yeah.
you just gotta, we just don't really know.
I want to dig into this a little bit more because I feel like you're holding back a little bit, and I think most people are holding back. They're either in the space where they're not paying attention to it, their heads in the sand, or they are silently freaking out about it, but they sound crazy, so they don't really want to talk about it.
And I think the most bizarre thing is to think about like what becomes the value of life. Like if everything is just of total abundance and everything is free, then money no longer has
Value.
a value. So like that, and I think that it's super important that like everybody has to find purpose. And without that purpose, it's like, what is the point of living? So like that's where I spend a lot of time, like that's where my mind will go in terms of like, but at the same time, I want to make sure that like, okay, if the first thing that happens is jobs are eliminated, that I can provide for my family, and then we'll figure everything out. But at the same time, then I'm thinking, gosh, I've been saving and investing for so long. And then if money no longer has a value, then like, what did I do all that for? So trying to strike the balance of like being prepared, not from like a doomsday prepper standpoint, but and then enjoying life every day as much as I can at the same time.
Absolutely. It's something that's so unfathomable. Fathomable. That's
a tough word.
I know. Every time I have a podcast with you, there's always that one word that
I don't remember what it was
get.
last time.
Anomaly.
Yeah.
See, I can say that one
That's
now,
right.
but the other one,
Yeah.
I'm just making stuff up at this point. But I think it's something that we can't wrap our minds around because it's so foreign to us that something could end up being smarter than us.
Yeah, well, because like I am totally counting down the days until I can purchase an Optimus, my own humanoid robot. And it was like, so like, that's what I mean in terms of like abundance, it's like, okay, our house has solar, so by and large that our electric bill is eliminated. So we get this humanoid robot that it will charge itself when it needs to be recharged or whatever, but like it will go out and mow the lawn and it will do our dishes and it will do like, so it's just like at that point, like, what's left to do with your time? And so like, I'm all for it, but at the same time, it's going to be like super bizarre.
Yeah. Well, what's left to do with your time when there's something that's taking care of the household stuff and the jobs are no longer in existence unless you're
and so like, and that's like an interesting thing. So from I think that like one of the last dominoes to fall is going to be like live in person, like entertainment, sports, because it is just that human element, I think, is really, really important to go to whatever sporting event, because like it's just, that is just the true spirit. So, and I pay a lot of attention to that because my daughter, she is in event management, and like, and now it's interesting to see how that has climbed up the charts in terms of bigger jobs, bigger careers for the future, because people want that real live and in-person experience.
Gosh, it's so crazy to think, and I'm sure people think that this is such an alarmist conversation, but it is right around the corner.
Oh, it's here.
I think they're releasing ChatGPT 5 this month. It's July 1st
Is it?
today. I think it's coming. That's at least what Sam
Wow.
Altman was talking about. And one of the podcasts that I was listening to is the difference between ChatGPT 4, which is currently out right now, and ChatGPT 5 is night and day. It's like
Mhm.
talking to a regular computer versus a supercomputer.
Wow.
And we're just one step away for artificial general intelligence.
Yeah.
Have you dove into the difference between AGI and ASI?
Not. I pay attention to
Mhm.
not particularly the two different
Mhm,
pieces, just
mhm.
because everything is just so fascinating
Yeah.
to me in terms of like, yeah, I don't know. I drive very little, so I mean, I do have a vehicle with full self-driving.
Mhm.
Like I did not drive here. So like, and if I look at my stats on my phone, like
Mhm.
typically my car I'm in full self-driving 97, 98% of the time. So like,
It's fine.
other than like leaving my garage and then actually parking, it will self-park, but like
Mhm.
going into a parking lot, and I'm pretty particular in terms of where I would like to park my car. But like, other than those two things, like it's figured it out. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's just like there might be an edge case here or there that I'll take control. But I
Mhm.
mean, like, it's just wild that it's happened super, super fast. And I think the other thing that I pay attention to is how often, like, I will look to see, like, from a product velocity, how often my apps are updated in the App Store. And so, like, you can see, like, they're constantly being updated and new
Mhm.
features are being added. And yeah, it's super wild.
Do you have the iPhone that has ChatGPT integrated with it?
Well, I think that's a 15. So I think that
Yeah.
it is. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But
Mine's too old for that.
yeah.
I don't have that.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't think it lived up to the hype. If I'm being, because I think
Fair.
they're slow rolling
Mhm.
the uh, the the product features. Siri's still horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just such a disappointment.
It won't be for long. The software's still in there, so it has the capability to update,
Yeah.
which is fascinating. I'm trying to stay more away from the alarmist perspective of this
Yeah.
and talk more about all of the business benefits that this could have. But I do think it is really important that we do touch on some of these things because it is real.
Yeah.
The loss of jobs is going to be significant, and call me crazy.
Well, and
but
the thing is, I'm a firm believer in the sense of it's like you are not going to lose right now. You're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to someone using AI. So it's like
Correct.
you've got to jump on board.
Correct.
And so, like, if you look back, and I don't know what year it was, the 90s or whatever,
Mhm.
yeah, there was the person that had the executive assistant that had them print their emails out on
Mhm.
hard copy, and then they would handwrite the reply, and then the assistant would then
Mhm.
send that email out on their behalf. Like those are the people that got replaced because they didn't adopt email back then. And the same
Mhm.
thing is going to
Mhm.
hold true, I think, for AI. You have to adopt and move on.
Yeah. So how are you seeing innovative businesses adopt? Because I know you're working with primarily businesses that are innovative. They are different. So how are
Yeah.
they utilizing this so where they're the human using it and not getting replaced by it as soon as they
Well, I mean that even that is moving super fast. So
Mhm.
before, like it wasn't long ago, maybe
Mhm.
a year and a half ago, like all of the like a lot of the companies that would be trying to raise money, they'd be like, I'm going to throw AI in my pitch deck, and then that will get the attention of investors in hopes that I can raise money. Well, now it's like if it's not in your pitch deck, then that's a problem within itself. So you
Yeah.
have to have it. So that was a change that happened really, really quickly. I see you just have to use it. I also see the verticalization in terms of like for taxes or for legal or for podcast show notes or whatever the case is.
Mhm.
I see a lot of things happening from a vertical sense, so that they're going to get really, really specialized in those particular areas. Um, but again, I think that the pressure is having that AI first mentality in terms of like we are going to see a startup company that has less than 10 people become a $1 billion company. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Whereas before you would need dozens, if not hundreds of people to hit that $1 billion mark. And it is going to happen with very, very lean teams. And then like from the venture world, that's going to change everything, because now companies aren't going to have to raise as much money or as often, because they're going to be able to do that through the use of AI. So like, then when you throw that into the mix, that's just like the beginning of everything. So like, then what does it look like from investing in companies on the stock market standpoint when they go public? So that they go, so again, it's just like, what is the future value of money going to be? It's really, I can't wrap my head around it.
This is a topic of conversation that's really been huge in our house over the past few months, really. But there's always that fear of the one world currency. You hear that whenever if in the Bible, it talks about that, right? So you hear people that are fearful of that, and it just makes sense. That's kind of like something like Bitcoin, but maybe it's something that we don't already have. Maybe it is AGI coin. Maybe it is something that is regulated by these AI models that are the ones dictating.
Yeah.
You never know. There's so many options.
And that's where, so another topic that you don't hear enough of in our region is power. And like, power is needed for all these data centers. Power is needed to generate all these queries for AI. And it's just so like, with all of that, that gives you that help with all these queries, that helps you find the cure for cancer from a healthcare standpoint, to figure out ways to do things that you never thought about doing before. So like, we have to be like a power producer, which I think that our region is in perfect position for, because of the shipyard, and we build nuclear powered aircraft carriers and submarines. And like, we have to leverage that technology in terms of how we can help power and meet the power demands that we need. To solve for. And then, once you have that, then that's when prices of everything will then start to come down, because it's going to be so cheap to produce everything, or detect from a healthcare standpoint, quicker to detect. And then if it's quicker to detect, then we're going to be able to help with the treatment. Or if it never even happens, then you can prevent it. So like, that's going to have a lot of impact on things too. So it's wild. And I haven't even thought about any of that. So don't ask a follow on, because I'm like trying to process this as fast as I can, but it's really a lot to process. I
don't know if there's anybody that really can process this so quick, because there are so many different components to it. There's that financial component, there's that money component. If none of us have jobs, or the majority of jobs are gone, besides the people that are actually cooling the machines down that are operating this, which very fulfilling. If that is one of the few jobs that are really left, besides the companies that have created these things that other companies are using, it's just a feedback loop of everybody using it. And so then you get to that part of society, and this is what we've been talking about at our house a lot lately, is where you're going to have the people that have money and there's people that don't, and it's going to completely wipe the middle class.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it from that standpoint, but I mean,
I just get freaked out today.
I want to that's again, that's like, I'm not necessarily a doomsday prepper kind of guy, but it's just like, at the same time, I really want to make sure that like, I am positioned, that if someday, the worst happened, that we are prepared.
Well, and I think a lot of people compare this to other technological revolutions in the past, such as the creation of the book. That was one thing that people were really concerned about, because they're like, well, only the educated people should have these books. And they didn't want to distribute books to everybody, because then everybody would be educated. And it was a big fear-driven thing, as well as the internet. And that was a big fear-driven thing. And people are comparing this to that. Yeah.
But in every case, though, it opened up more jobs. Yeah. So this is going to open up more jobs in areas that we just haven't discovered yet.
Yes.
So like the same deal, like the tractor, people didn't have to farm by hand. They had a tractor. So if you didn't farm, then you're able to go into a higher paying job. Yeah. So I think that it was an interesting question. I was listening to a podcast over the weekend, and they're like, in 5 years time, is Amazon going to have more or less employees than it does now? And I'm of the mindset that like, it's probably going to have a higher number of employees, just because we're going to identify more jobs and be able to produce more things than before. AI is going to also, it may not grow as fast, and we will eliminate some jobs, but it's going to produce, it's going to create jobs that we never thought of, that we haven't thought of yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a great point too, because our minds just can't really get itself around what's happening right now. So
Yeah.
it'd be really hard to comprehend.
Well, like a couple of years ago, if you would have said, "Hey, you know, I need to learn how to be like a prompt engineer," kind of thing, it was like people like they would have no idea what you were talking about in terms of prompt what, you know. And it's like now the key of doing anything on Pick Your LLM is, you know, being able to write the correct prompts, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to do.
But the catch with that is it's so terrifying because this is something that is evolving so quickly. So let's say a few years ago, you said, I want to be a prompt engineer. You do all this work to learn how to be a prompt engineer. And now with ChatGPT 5, you don't need a prompt engineer anymore because it can prompt itself.
Yeah.
And you can use AI to prompt AI and to train.
I mean, like one thing that happened Thursday, Friday of last week. So this is July 1st. I think it happened June 27th, but like the very first Tesla Model Y left the factory in Austin, Texas, and self-drove itself to the customer's house.
Oh my gosh.
And so like that is mind-boggling to me. Yeah, so it literally left the factory on it and drove itself to the doorstep of that customer, all on its own, not without a driver, without a safety spotter, without anything, just totally on its own. And so like, it's a super exciting time to be alive from that standpoint. Yeah.
Complete side tangent, I come from Texas, and so very local to Austin. It only took me about an hour to get there. You can drive by that Tesla factory. I remember when they first started building it, the biggest building I've ever seen in my life. Like impossible. It's like a 2-mile drive almost, and you're just driving and you're just.
I was lucky enough to do a tour of the factory last year.
Really,
and it was it's just so bananas.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I mean, everything's bigger in Texas, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. The biggest thing that I miss is the grocery stores. I say that pretty regularly.
Well, shout out. Yesterday was the grand opening at Buc-ee's in Virginia.
Yeah,
that was just like. I've only been to Buc-ee's once. Yeah. And it was South Carolina. And I was like, that was such a sensory overload to me. I was like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And like seeing the reports of like all the people that like either one make it like that's their thing to go to every grand opening for a Buc-ee's, or like the number of people from out of state that drove into Virginia just to go to that grand opening. It's just like wild.
I used to live right behind a Buc-ee's in New Braunfels, Texas. It used to be the biggest Buc-ee's in the world. No longer.
Oh, really? So they continue to make those bigger within themselves as well?
I would imagine. This was years ago that it was or the most gas pumps or something, and it was the big. And I think I've seen bigger since, because that's where it was founded. A&M, I think, is somebody from that school founded this company, and then it just blew up. But I think things like that are going to be things that humans really grasp onto, because I think psychology is a big one. I never studied psychology, but I'm very interested in it because I think it drives a lot of business decisions and factors and everything. And that just connection, that in-person connection of being with a human, talking to a human, that's something that people want. And so being able to go to a Buc-ee's and enjoy that, I think those simple things like going to the games, like you were talking about, watching football in person, like those are going to be probably the last things to really disappear. We might have robots working the stadiums and robots working the Buc-ee's.
Have you been to a stadium recently, like with the self-checkout thing that they have? So you go to the concession stands now, not all of them, but you just grab whatever it is off of the shelf, and then it will like, you just set it on the counter, it scans itself, I don't know if it's through weight or whatever, but then you just tap your card and you go. So like there's not even an attendant there. It just,
I did that in the airport. I don't remember what airport
same deal. I have recently saw one in an airport as well.
Just set it on the scanner and then poof. Okay, it knows exactly what you purchased. It's strange. I was this was about a year ago, maybe more, maybe like 2 years ago. I was in Victoria's Secret and I went into the dressing room and it knew what I had in my hands. Craziest thing I've ever seen. Is
it like some super like RFID?
It's gotta be
reader kind of thing. That's so wild.
And the health nut in me is like, okay, then how much radiation is getting exposed to my body, and how bad is this if it's being able to read these tags? Like, is that harmful to us to some extent?
Right. that does enter my mind as well. I try not,
Mhm.
I try to limit how much I worry about
Yeah.
everything, but yeah, it has entered my mind.
Yeah, I think the perspective that I'm trying to approach this from is not necessarily the perspective of I'm going to worry about it, but I'm going to logically try and look at this as best as I can, use my resources,
Hmm.
which are available to me, prompt it accordingly, and figure out, okay, what can I do as a business owner, as a business to get ahead of this? Because
Yeah.
the days of human social media management are gone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you have to be so proactive and and you have to be willing. uh, you have to be willing to take a risk and be willing to fail. And the thing
Mhm,
is, if you fail, then just regroup, brush yourself off,
mhm,
and go again.
mhm,
But like
mhm, mhm.
we saw so quickly and clearly during COVID, like you either innovated or you died.
Mhm.
And so like the same is going to hold true. You need to with AI, you need to think about I need to start looking at some things that I need to be doing today because if I wait too long, it might be too late.
Yeah.
So from a business standpoint, you've got to get out there and learn, not be afraid to just to try something new and double down on the stuff that works. But you can't. This is not the time to be resting and sitting back.
So a lot of the companies that you're seeing within all of the different things that you're involved in, especially with the startup World Cup series and all that, you don't have to divulge any of the business ideas. But with a lot of these companies, are they primarily just cloud based, for lack of better term? Is it something that is just an
Yeah.
intangible products?
Virginia is interesting in the sense of like it's such a wide swath of
Mhm.
companies and traditionally, I don't know what the right word is, but like Hampton Roads, we are not like a very early adopter community. We
Okay.
are so late on the adoption curve.
Yeah.
So
I got yes.
um, I, th- I feel like I'm an island. I am on an island of my own. So I don't have conversations like this with many people because we typically are such a late adopter.
Yes.
There are a few, but they're few and far between. But if you want to be competitive, you need to be thinking about this.
You could see it in your real estate, in your homes. I love the traditional colonial approach that you guys have here with your homes. I think it goes from West Coast all the way to East Coast because coming from Texas and purchasing a home in Virginia, we purchased our home about a year ago, a little over a year ago, and the housing market, just the houses that are produced as new builds there are just night and day different
Yeah,
in their functionality, their modernness, like everything is so different than the house that we purchased and we got a new build, which is just
yeah,
crazy.
and a lot of the yeah. So and like all the builders here are all like one owner builder
Mhm,
kind
mhm,
of things,
mhm.
and yeah, they're not early adopters either. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like
no. Home building in general is not an
yeah,
early adopting industry.
and I don't know if it's a cost thing. I don't know if it's just they're not savvy in terms of technology, but I don't even know. Like, I would be really interested to know, like, when
Mhm.
you had a new build, so, like, did you have to, like, request, like, even something as small as HDMI cables to be, like, pre-wired in the home?
So what's funny is just kind of the opposite. Now everything is primarily Bluetooth. And so our builder actually we got in late, so we didn't actually build it from the ground up.
Mm,
It was a spec home that we got from our builder and it was pretty much done by the time we found it. But everything it was just wired for hardwired
yeah,
speakers, hardwire like the old Blu-ray boxes. Like all of that was hardwired into our house and it just I'm like this is a
yeah,
2024 build
yeah.
and the surround sound everything is
Did
going
it
to be
come with,
Bluetooth.
phone jacks for landlines?
It did not.
It did oh, well,
That
we're
is the
okay.
we're
We're getting
improving a
somewhere.
little bit. Yes, but I did have the big colonial just the colonial what do you call it? The siding on the
Oh oh, the
walls.
crown molding and the
Yes,
chair rails and
crown
all that stuff?
yes, yes, yes. To me, I'm a very big fan of a little bit older architecture,
Yeah.
so I like it, but
I wish that the balance was, like, it can look traditional on the
mhm,
outside, but
mhm, mhm,
super tech and
on the
modern on
inside.
the like underneath
Mhm.
behind the walls kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
That's another thing, the exterior is just so different. such a it's such a different thing, but and we're talking about something so funny as just houses, right? And of course there's going to be builders that are the exception to that rule, and not, I mean, it's as with
Yeah.
anything, but it's just really interesting to just take a look, go look at the houses on Zillow that you see that are new builds in the state of Texas, in Austin, Texas, and then look here, and there is a huge difference.
Yeah, I haven't looked that closely. I know that you can get a whole lot of house in
Oh
Texas
yeah.
compared to
Yeah.
East Coast
Oh yeah.
and West Coast too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's that is a lot of the stuff that we did has all been
Hmm.
after the fact stuff that I wish that there was a way. Yeah, yeah,
I would also argue, though, that this area they might be dated in some thinking, but they are innovative in a lot, especially with the data centers, because this is something it's coming to our area. It's bringing a lot of jobs. So I think there are innovation in certain spaces. It's just certain spaces. And I think people that are at the forefront of that are on their little island. And it's the people that I'm seeing hanging around you that I see, oh, okay, this person's very,
it is
very,
interesting. There are a lot of people who want to keep things the same. This is
yeah.
like where they were born and raised here, and
Yes.
I don't. Maybe everywhere is that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
born here.
Yes.
I wanted to stay the same, but at the
Absolutely.
same time, it's like
Hmm.
you can't say you want to attract and retain young talent
Hmm.
and keep things the same. It's just like those two things don't go together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Why do you think California is so successful in retaining young talent?
yeah, well, yeah, they did a great job of that.
Yeah.
Now that once you start making a little money, then taxes are a
Yeah.
little
Oh,
crazy.
heck
Then
no.
people are then
Yeah.
all
Oh,
going
yeah.
to Texas right now.
Yeah.
But
Yes. Yep.
that's neither here nor there.
Absolutely. It's crazy to think about. I think the biggest thing is I think people are approaching this, especially anybody that's probably 30 and up, are approaching this scenario as, okay, we've seen this before with the internet. We've seen things come and go. This is going to create new jobs. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to see what happens.
Yeah.
And I just am a firm believer that that can't be the approach that you have if you are in business, because it's not the same.
Right. Yeah, I just when you say that, I laugh. Like back when I was a kid, I was the remote control. I was the kid. I had to get up and turn the channel on the console
Yep.
television.
Yep.
It's people listening to this have no idea what a
Mhm.
console TV even is, but that was my job as the kid, was to turn the channel.
Mhm. Yeah.
So different than
Yeah.
what it is today.
Yeah, get up and do it. And now the kids that are being born don't know a world without artificial intelligence.
Yeah. I mean, just interesting in terms of my age now, just seeing all of that happen, with, gosh, with the internet and then with Wi-Fi and that, gosh, it's like dealing with dial-up modems back in the day and how slow that would take to the cell
Mhm.
phone to now. Yeah. I mean, all of those things were really, really big advancements. And
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I'm amazed by watching the kids that were just native to always having an iPhone in their hand from the time that they were born to, I can't even imagine what it's gonna be like when it's just AI native
Yeah.
from the time they were born.
What are your thoughts on Neuralink?
I think really it's super fascinating. And it's I really we will get to the point where it's like, it's probably, I don't know if it's a great analogy, but like, and I'm not a race car guy, but I know that
Okay.
it's like you have to, like race car drivers, like if you have fresh tires, you can go faster.
Okay.
And the longer you wait to get new tires, the slower you go. So it's a big decision in terms of like, do I go in for tires now so I can go really, really fast and give up my track position? Or do I wait and then hope that I catch a break? So like, but the same, all that to say, the same thing is going to happen. Like eventually people are going to go into Neuralink so that they can be their own supercomputer to become more competitive with the workforce. And like, that is like super crazy to me.
Yeah. To avoid job loss.
Right.
If it comes down to that, having a job, because job for a lot of people equals purpose. Career equals purpose. If nobody had careers, people wouldn't feel they have a purpose.
Yeah.
So to stay innovative, if that is the new norm,
But like when you think of like it's just, so like that's crazy. But like today, if you look at like how the mind works and it's an electrical system in the sense of like
Mhm,
wires get shorted out, and that's
mhm.
why we lose a step or our eyesight
Yeah,
goes or hearing goes or whatever. So like to think that they can put something in your brain so that you can reconnect those electrical currents that are
yeah.
transmitting and receiving the neurons or whatever, like to be able to bring that back would be really, really like I'm all for that.
Oh,
Or
absolutely.
for a deaf person to be able to hear, a blind person to see, a paralyzed person to walk, like that's like super fascinating and like really, really
Yeah.
so life changing.
I can't remember his name, but Joe Rogan interviewed
Oh,
the
the first guy, yeah.
mhm, mhm, and how much it improved his life was
And
just
I think the average, I think there's 3 people that had it done, and like the average time they use it like 16 hours a day
yeah,
on average now, which is essentially every waking minute. If you sleep 8 hours,
yeah.
then
I mean, it makes sense if you have it. For me, I love to travel, and there's coming from Texas, being so close to the border. I mean, at some point we were in Del Rio, Texas, which is a hop, skip, and a jump. The
mm,
movie theater was in Mexico.
oh, for real?
That we yes, because we mapped the wrong movie theater and we started going, and we're like,
Oh,
I
wow.
think that's towards Mexico. I don't think we can do that, so we had to go to the other movie theater, but we were right there, and everybody speaks Spanish, and so I can pick up Spanish. I've done a little bit of time in Duolingo, but not enough to be
Yeah.
proficient, and I can pick up on it. I can understand a little bit, but I would love to be able to speak it. I've gone to Europe, being able to speak French, Italian, like any of these languages would be
Hmm.
so crucial to be able to communicate with the locals. And by having something like that, you would be able to
Yeah.
pretty instantly.
Yeah. I just would really welcome just having like smart glasses in the sense of like
Hmm.
auto focusing,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
terms of like it knows your prescription kind of thing.
Hmm.
And if I need to see far, then I can see far. Then yeah, I'm getting a
Hmm.
little. I saw
Hmm.
like if I needed some help
Hmm.
crispening some things up on the reading
Yeah.
side, that they would do that too. Like that
It-
technology is
yeah.
in existence. It would be silly to think otherwise.
Yeah. And I think probably from a logical perspective, if you're looking at this, that's the AI incorporated products such as glasses like that would probably be the first things to really roll out, the first parts where AI, oh, this is so beneficial. This is so good. This is helping us in so many ways. I just look at this and it
Yeah.
refocuses, or I look up and it focuses where I'm trying to go. And then to some extent, then things are going to be more intangible and just cyberspace, for lack of better term, with the
Yeah.
products that we're consuming. It's going to start where we can physically touch it, and then it's going to move beyond that. At least my thoughts. But so much to think about.
It is. It's exciting. It is super exciting times.
I'm curious. So I actually would love to be one of the people that gets that first Tesla robot. We've talked about it at our house. It's worth the investment. We've already done all of the math. I
Yep.
mean, I think they're 30,000 approximated
Yep.
what they're supposed to come out at. And so we're like, okay, does this investment make sense to us? Absolutely. Yes, it
Oh, for
does.
sure.
But
To me, it does as
yeah,
well.
yeah, there's a lot of people that are, oh, heck no.
I can't, I like the thing that my wife and we joke around about. Like, I can't wait um, for the day that we bring that thing home. And like we go for walks together in the
Oh my
neighborhood.
God.
Like people will lose their mind.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
but I think that just from a like curing loneliness standpoint, you are going to develop some emotional relationship, and like just so like just curing that and having, if
Mhm.
you're living alone and having someone to talk to and listen to, like just even that within itself. But like we're totally going to travel,
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
our Optimus.
Yeah. That's awesome. Wonder if you're gonna have to pay for a plane ticket for it, or how
Well,
that'll.
we'll just jump in the car and just let it go, and Ellie,
And people are so resistant to that because they're like, "Oh, what if it just turns itself on in the middle of the night?" I have a Roomba. That thing can turn itself on in the middle of the night. Your phone is
right?
constantly listening. It so
Yeah.
apparently didn't know this. There are some apps out there, which I'm not going to say which ones, that supposedly have the ability to track your eye movements because we open our phones with
Well,
our face.
iOS has that. Have you tried that before?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so in your settings, you can do like you can have it track your eye movement, and like you can do your texting and stuff within iOS.
I think my phone's too old for that.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, depending on whatever
You have to
operating
show me
system,
that.
yeah, it's cuckoo.
And you think
I
that
turned it off. I was like,
those
no, we can't do this. Yeah.
those terms and conditions can't be just that
Yeah.
piece of information slipped in there that gives them the ability to take that data from you. You have ChatGPT on your phone, you enabled that, it now takes the data to help train. At some point, it's not going to really need to train itself anymore. It's going to just feed off of itself.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting because it now our phones are everywhere. Technology is everywhere. So I think, to me, I'm like, you know what? If I can have an optimist that can come along with me and do the dishes, I'm at least going to enjoy it while I have that
Oh,
ability to
100%.
have the ability to not
Yeah.
have to do those. Walk the dog.
It's just everything, all this stuff that you
Mhm.
just do not like to do, or
Mhm,
when it's, you know,
mhm.
it's super hot here and humid, or if you're in Texas, where it's like,
Uh-huh. Mhm.
head on out, buddy.
Yeah, yeah,
Take
yeah.
care of the lawn.
There's going to be plenty of exciting moments to come, and it's really not that far off. I think that we are this year right around the corner from having significant presence of this technology just integrated in our daily life to all different capacities.
It's changing so fast,
Mhm, mhm.
so fast.
And so people don't talk to you about this? You don't have conversations like this?
Gosh, I'm normally so busy
Yeah.
that like I wish these are my favorite conversations to
Mhm,
have,
mhm.
and I wish that I had time to do more of
Yeah.
these conversations.
Mhm.
But typically, it's just I am like putting out fire after fire.
Mm.
Um, I take what I do super serious. So like, if I just really, I'm just trying to level the playing field so that if you are a founder, if you are a business person, that you can succeed in this region. And so I spend so much of my time doing that. This is the fun stuff. So I appreciate
Yeah.
you inviting me to
Absolutely.
chop it up about this.
Yeah. So you say you're busy putting out fires. Is a lot of it related to Innovate Hampton Roads?
Yeah.
Where is the majority of your focus? I know you're working with a lot of businesses.
Well, yeah, I think a big thing is we try to serve as a storyteller for the region.
Okay.
So with that, it's just like no one really knows what Hampton Roads is. No one knows where it is. No one knows why they should care. So like we have these founders that are world-class founders that are super smart, that are doing really, really awesome things. And they need to raise money for their business to be successful. But if people don't know who we are and what we're doing and why they should invest in this region, then it's really, really difficult for those business owners and founders to succeed. So understanding that they're busy doing their thing, if we can tell that story for them so that we can capture the attention from the outside world saying, hey, we're doing really cool things, pay attention to us, invest into us, and we're going to give you a return on that investment.
Yeah.
That's we're trying to tell that story.
Is it just a lot of media presence, or how are you getting the word
Yeah,
out?
I mean, so we're a regional organization, and typically a lot of what has been done, certainly from the entrepreneurial space, has been done at the very, very, very individual level,
Mhm.
at best by the local city or municipality level. So then all of a sudden, this organization, Innovate Hampton Roads, comes around and they're like, "Hey, tell us everything that's going on." So a lot of it has been like breaking bread, drinking coffee, having meals, building trust, so that we're like, hey, we really have great intentions. We're not trying to take anything away from you. We want you to succeed. So a lot of it has been a lot of trust building.
What areas are you working on getting Hampton Roads exposed to? Are you?
Well, I think that with the military presence that we have here, I think that like we have to really, really double down on like defense tech. That is something that is super hot right now. And when it comes to saving the government money, we have really smart people that came from larger industries, so they can do it cheaper, better, faster, and that's a win for everybody. So that would be an area, because we do have all the services of the armed forces here, and we have NASA that is here, and we are so quickly becoming multiplanetary that like we need, if we can commercialize that, then that's a big area as well. from the energy standpoint, that would be another area that I think that we can focus on. But it's just so those are the different things that I see that we have to focus on. Um, really building everyone up. Like we're such a blue collar town that it's like we have to we got to bring some swagger to the area.
Yeah.
You know, some of that Texas swagger, right?
There's so much diversity in this area. That is the
It
one
is.
significant change coming from somewhere like Texas to here. You have the Navy, you've got the Air Force, you've got the Army, you've got shipbuilding, you've got power generation,
Yeah.
you've got so many different industries that you don't get anywhere else.
In so many other places, they would do anything to have one of those opportunities.
Yeah.
And we're sitting on all of these opportunities. Like we had family in town a couple weeks ago, and like you, I'm sure, like we had jets flying over, and like I don't even pay. You may look because
I look, yeah,
but like and like they immediately stop and they look up and they're like,
yeah.
I'm like I just did. I totally didn't even hit my mental like, oh yeah. I was like, yeah. And we always kid. We arrange these flyovers for you when you're in town, and it's just like,
yeah.
Wait a few minutes and you'll get another one.
Yeah, living so close to Langley, seeing the Raptors fly around every time I see a plane. I saw it yesterday. I was filling up Sam's and I saw like a World War II type plane just flying.
I mean, and I typically, I mean, it is something that never gets old.
Yeah.
But it's just sometimes you just we take it for granted.
So I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about the Startup World Cup, because I saw your emails. You didn't even tell me about it. I saw your email. I read your email. I'm like, holy shit, I want to go to this because this looks really fun. So can you tell people that are local to the area about this and what it is?
Well, so it is going back to the storytelling aspect. We were approached by Pegasus Tech Ventures last year saying, hey, we've always wanted to do something in Virginia. Would you be willing to host this? So we said yes. And so it's a competition. We search all over Virginia to find the 10 best startups that we can find. So then on one night, one stage, we have those 10 companies that will then pitch their business to a panel of judges so that we can determine who is going to represent Virginia in San Francisco for the World Cup title. And that is a $1 million investment, whoever that is, to win the overall Startup World Cup. So it's a really, really big event because it's bringing in the best of the best from all over. So like, this is not your like traditional, like, hey, I've got a business idea, let me write it down on a napkin kind of thing. Like this is a real competition that people have raised millions of dollars in funding. They have generated tens of millions of dollars in revenue. And they truly are the best of the best. So like, I just remember last year when we did it, and I was like, wow, we've got really amazing companies that are here. Like I didn't realize that this is a pretty stacked competition. Yeah. And interesting enough, the building that we're in right now, the IV Watch, who's down on the first floor and the second floor, they ended up they won for Virginia, and then they finished third place for the entire world. So everybody always talks about how we have to have big events in this region. Well, like this is the big event, like for entrepreneurship, this is like the biggest event that we're going to have. We are going to bring people in from all over the state. We're going to bring people from outside of the state, from like investors now are catching wind of this. So as investors are looking for opportunities to invest in companies, they're going to be coming in. So whether if you're on stage as part of that top 10 or not, like this is just a place to meet so many like-minded people, whether if you're a founder or if you're an investor or if you're someone that likes to support startups or you just want to see what cool things are happening in Virginia, like this is the place to be. So August 21st is when we're going to do it. It's going to be at the Sandler Center in Virginia Beach from 5 to 8. And it's going to be a ton of fun. There'll probably be 1,000 plus people that will be in attendance. So this is it's a pretty big deal. Yeah.
Well, I will be there. I am super excited because for me, with how often we are staying on top of everything that's happening with AI and how much we're watching, in paying attention to this between now and August 21st, so much can change. And so I'm really excited to follow all of this, change our business, as we talked about a little bit before this show, and see what people are pitching at that time to see how just what people are currently doing.
And I haven't really looked super closely at the different companies that have applied. That is going to be a super difficult process within itself. We'll have a whole panel that tries to narrow down the top 10, but I am eager to look forward to see like the difference in companies from last year to this year in terms of like how that technology shift has in fact taken place.
So exciting.
Yeah.
And it's, where is Pegasus based out of?
They're San Francisco.
Okay. Yep. That's what I thought. Dang. Well, this is so impressive. And it is, I'm sure, really exciting to be on the board of all of this and just seeing all the transformation that's happening.
It's a big swing. We're taking a bit, it's a big swing to do this. Last year, we released 350 tickets. This year, so again, we're targeting over 1,000. So like this is a really, really big swing for us to take, and we really encourage everybody to attend.
Will it be live streamed too, or is it in person only?
We are working out those details. I mean, so it may be. It's hard to say. If we sell out, it will 100% be live stream. I know that we left such an impression last year that the Pegasus Tech Ventures folks that were in town to watch this, they immediately called back to their headquarters saying, wow, like these guys totally flipped this thing, and we need to follow this as the example to follow. Because I mean, pitch competitions are typically pretty, it's just the same deal. You know, it's dry. They pitch. You switch decks on the screen. You pitch to it. So like we totally flipped everything. We had walk-up songs for everybody. We were throwing T-shirts out. We introduced other impromptu pitches in between. So we really wanted to flip everything upside down to make it engaging, fun, and exciting. And I think that we did a great job doing that. Then with the top 10 companies that presented, that was a great thing. And so we have more in store this year that we're going to do. So it'll be really fun.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait to be there. I'm going to make sure to get there early so I can catch one of those T-shirts. But this has been so incredible. Our hour flew by super quick. I typically try and take notes during, and this, I think we just moved so quick. There's so much that we covered. I'm thoroughly impressed. I really enjoyed talking to you. I think this is such a.
And we didn't get into that. We didn't get into the fitness aspect of anything.
Gosh, I know.
There was a lot to talk about.
I know.
Fast hour.
Yeah. Well, at least if, AI completely takes over all the jobs, at least we can still train.
That's right.
I was thinking about that yesterday too. We watched a whole thing last night. It was we stayed up till midnight. My husband and I just talking about this and the future and what's going on. Crazy stuff.
I go to bed early. I can't.
We do too normally.
Yeah.
So it is just forefront of the mind right now. But well, thank you so much for coming on, Tim. This was awesome, and hopefully you learned something. Not doomsday prep mindset, but you learned something, and something sparked some spark of innovation in you that might allow you to go and dive more into this, because it's real and it's happening, and the businesses that are too focused on operations as they see it might be looking at a completely different landscape in less than a year from now. So thank you, Tim.
Thank you. We live in exciting times.
We do. Well, everybody, I hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday and start to your Q3. If you are looking to get connected with Tim Ryan, he is pretty active on LinkedIn. So you can just click on his profile and I imagine send him a message, and he'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Will do.
All right. Awesome. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.